After a horrible spill, this motorcyclist is determined to make a full recovery. Take a look.
I started riding motorcycles the day I met my wife. Her dad was a biker and told me that, you know, hey, you should get a bike. I got a bike. All you have to think about is riding the bike. Clears your head. Just you on the road, that's it. Me and my father-in-law were riding up to the water gap, just cruising, just a normal day. We split up and then it wasn't normal. This person was passing other people on a non-passing zone. He hit me, hit me from behind and threw me off the bike, and I hit the guardrail and bounced off the guardrail and then went 22 feet into the PA Canal and landed in mud. I'm wide awake. I know I'm hurt. Another motorcyclist that was driving a car saw my bike and stopped.
Rich was in the accident late at night, so he didn't actually come home that night. Couldn't get in touch with him. Nobody had seen him. He wasn't hanging out with his friends. My dad had called. He had got in touch with a dispatch for that area. They were able to find that he was in an accident and that he was airlifted to St. Luke's in Bethlehem.
When I first saw Richard, he had extensive facial lacerations and facial fractures, a huge tongue laceration. It was nearly completely off. He already had a breathing tube, but he was not following any commands and he was critically ill.
They have something called the golden hour. Really, that first hour is your best chance to really get things running.
When you have a trauma patient come in, you worry about the life-threatening injuries right away.
We always talk about A, B, C, D, E. So A stands for airway, B for breathing, C for circulation, D for disability, and E exposure. So we try and do that within a short time frame to be able to assess and rule out any traumatic injuries or things that could cause death immediately.
There was a whole team of people that were taking great care of him. He was in surgery, he was stable. They were doing what they had to do for him. So to me, that was a great start. He had survived.
They had to reconstruct my face. They had to put my fingers back on. And I was in a coma. When I did wake up, I started rubbing my feet together, because that's what I do when I wake up in the morning. And then that's how she knew, my wife knew, that I was awake, like I was coming out of it.
A lot of times we say he's a walking miracle, because when he was first in, they thought he would be there for months. He walked out of the hospital 2 weeks later.
St. Luke's was awesome. Best care I ever got.
They are not only caring about him as the patient, but they're caring about us as the family. It was the worst possible time in our lives, but we were in the best possible place that we could ever be.
The people here is what makes St. Luke's St. Luke's. People are very genuinely nice here. It's a great team environment. We all work together really well.
Over 100 people were involved in this care throughout his hospital course, and to have him come back and have a great outcome and being back to normal and doing all the things that he loves to do, that's what makes it great.
He really fought hard and he had a really good outcome and he got healthy and could come back to see us.
Rich is a great story. He survived and he's thriving, and I'm sure they have stories, where the outcome is not good. If they just know that we appreciate them so much and they are so valued and so important to us. They were just doing their jobs, but their jobs are pretty huge.
Without them, I wouldn't be here, and they put me back together.
Joining me in the studio is Dr. James Cipolla, Chief of the Trauma Division, Surgical Critical Care and Emergency Surgery. Dr. Cipolla, thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure.
So when a trauma comes in, you can't really predict what's happened out there, what someone needs. How do you get the team together and the right people in place to deal with a trauma such as Richard's?
Well, it starts with the report from the outside field. So the emergency medicine team and the emergency squads from the field, they connect via a phone. But they try and relay whatever the details of the crash or the incident was so that we can at least have some idea what's coming in. And from that, we call the level of alert. So if we think the person has an immediately life-threatening injury, they're a level A. If we think they have an injury that could potentially become life-threatening, they're a level B.
It's really an amazing system, and caring for the patient, of course, is critical, but there's a whole other component, which is the family. And St. Luke's has a unique way of dealing with the family. Often they're alerted that something has happened. They are kind of in the dark. They may not really know what's going on. How do you make sure at the same time that you're really saving someone's life that the family is involved in the process and knows what's going on.
Yeah, that's extremely important, and it's probably one of the most difficult things we do. The medical part is what we're trained to do, and that's something that is scientific and regimented, but the social part and the personal part is different with every case. You have different personalities, different families, different circumstances. What we do at St. Luke's is we have a pastoral care department that comes, and social team that comes to the trauma bay for every trauma. We get their name, we get a phone number, we get a contact immediately. So we have a team of people that automatically reaches out to the family to let them know your family members at St. Luke's. We try and give them a little bit of their condition, but we don't want to make them too frightened until they get to the hospital so that they drive safely to the hospital. And once they get there, that team meets with them and says there are doctors taking care of your family member, there are experts taking care of your family member, there are nurses taking care of your family member. They will be out to speak to you as soon as they're able to, but we rest assured there's a team of physicians that is with your family right now to give them a little bit of solace.
And that is so important at that time when you really don't know what's going on. You mentioned the team. The team is huge. You know, we think of the physicians and the surgeons, but there are so many other caregivers along the way. You mentioned EMT. What about nurses and, you know, assistants and other people? Tell me about the team approach and how you communicate through a trauma at that important time.
Yeah, at St. Luke's we like to say the entire network is the trauma team. The initial team is always the doctors, nurses, trauma team in the emergency department, but that fans out immediately to respiratory, radiology, even the environmental team that comes in to clean the trauma bay, so just in case one's coming 10 minutes later, we have to be ready for them. Radiology, and then you start to talk about your specialty teams that we may need. So if someone just goes to the operating room, you have to have an operating team ready at all times. You have to have your ICU team ready at all times. So, and including the pastoral care and the social team that we talked about.
How does it make you feel to see all of those people come together to save a life?
Well, I mean, teamwork is the ultimate fulfillment for us, and watching that team come together is really, I mean, what we train for. We practice it. It's almost like a fire drill every day that you have to make sure that everybody comes together and does the most optimal treatment for the patient in the most efficient way, because a lot of these things take place within the course of 10 minutes or 20 minutes to get these people together working kind of in concert. So when you see it happen, it's like an orchestra, and you're the conductor, but without the violins playing and without the trumpets playing and without the flutes playing, it doesn't sound right. It's the same thing with trauma. If you don't have everybody working in concert, the patient's not going to have an optimal care.
That's a great analogy and a great way to look at it. Thank you so much for being here, and hopefully we never need your services, but if we do, we're glad that you're there for us.
It's our pleasure.
For more information on the trauma department at St. Luke's University Health Network or anything from today's show, go to our website at thepeaktv.com. Thanks for joining us, and remember, every day is an opportunity to be your best self. This is The Peak.
Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a comment down below and let us know what your favorite part was.